The second story in Unvisible that we are looking at is the arrest of a Hindutva ideologue in Kerala and its implications. TG Mohandas is a Hindutva ideologue in Kerala. He made a series of controversial statements on women who had come to attend the protests at Jantar Mantar. Now, the statements were part of his videos on YouTube channel Patrika. Now, there was a massive backlash on those statements. Now, these statements targeted the women who had come to be part of the CJP protests at Jantar Mantar. The Students' Federation of India filed a complaint against TJ Mohandas for the comments that he had uploaded on that YouTube channel. Following the complaint, police registered a case against Mohandas under the provisions of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the Information Technology Act, as well as the Kerala Police Act. The matter escalated further when Kerala police took Mohandas into custody from his residence in Kuvadapadam in Kochi. He was subsequently taken to Thiruvananthapuram Cyber Police Station, where his arrest was formally recorded around midnight. The police action also drew a political response, with the BJP questioning the arrest and alleging that this action against Mohandas was discriminatory. Following his arrest, investigators collected information about Mohandas's YouTube account and seized digital devices that allegedly were used to create and upload those controversial videos. Now, the seized gadgets are to be presented before the court and sent for forensic analysis. Meanwhile, Mohandas has also obtained a bail as we speak and is now, in fact, deciding to fight it in court as the case proceeds. Now, to discuss more on this, we have with us Smita Mishra, senior journalist, Nikhil Jain, political analyst, and Rahul Ishwar. Now, let me go to Rahul Ishwar first. Rahul Ishwar, Mohandas made a very controversial statement. I mean, I don't want it to actually say, but because it is part of the news, he in fact demeaned women who protested. Is right-wing, extreme right-wing, I'm not talking about right-wing or center-right or anyone like, but extreme right-wing, who in fact have fascism as an ideology to in fact mimic. And when we see some of those videos of TJ Mohandas, you get an idea that he's quite impressed with that extreme form of fascism. Do you think such people, I'm coming to the question, do you think such people have a problem with two things? One is dissent and women asserting themselves in political stage.
Partially both. See, I am a Hindu right-wing activist. I have closely worked with Sri TG Mohandas in Hindu Parliament. I call him Cheta. Cheta means brother, in Malayalam language, or TG Mohandas ji. See, the issue is he went to such an extreme with the statement that it is, absolutely unbecoming of a Hindu. See, I'm very happy, and I should, happily point out that RSS officially distanced. As you know, usually RSS doesn't come out with much press releases, even when it is positive for them or negative for them. But uncharacteristically, RSS that day itself released an official statement distancing themselves and saying that Mohandas ji is not holding any position. See, how can anybody go on record to say that some women like being violated? See, I don't even want to use the word he used, but he went on to say that some women like being violated and they like being mass violated. What kind of a statement is this? This is absolutely shameful. And he also went on to say that if he had the power, he would have en masse done the massacre of students there. See, this is the language of General Dyer, who, Jallianwala Bagh kind of incident that we saw.
Well, that is the language of not only General Dyer, this is the language of Hitler. Nazi Germany is Hitler. This is the language of Mussolini. Any kind of extreme fascism you've seen, this is the language.
And let me remind my fellow brothers, in our right wing and any wing, it was a right-winger Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bhagat Singh went to protest. This left-winger Bhagat Singh went to protest a right-winger Lala Lajpat Rai's, murder, or in effect, death by the British. And, he really, killed Sanders in a case of another identity. The point is, there was large mutual respect. They disagreed on policy, principle, positions. They disagreed vehemently with each other.
My question here
but
is,
there was some kind of mutual respect.
I do get that part of it. See, I understand we have right wing, we have left wing, we understand. But my question is this extreme radicalization of these ideologies towards the extreme right and to the extreme left, where both, after the study that is there, in fact, we have with us Nikhil Jain also is there, who can join us.
If I can just add one more word.
Yes.
Many people say urban Naxals. I also point out we have urban Nazis both urban Naxals, who is the far left, and urban Nazis, who is the far right, they both are danger to us. We want a center right and center left, somewhere sensible in the middle.
All right. Nikhil Jain, you know, when it comes to TG Mohandas, of course, the argument was going on. You know, when it comes to extreme left of the spectrum or extreme right of the spectrum, the very idea of both of them seem to be very similar. That is to capture the state institutions and execute the extreme thought through the system in terms of the actions, because once you're inside the system has its own way of pushing things in place to the point where, you know, everyone has to listen to the orders coming through the system. So it is always about capture of the state that both these extreme forms of these ideologies, I'm not saying just talking about right wing or left wing, I'm talking the extremes of these this thing. That's why I'm making that kind of distinction. Extremes of these thoughts are always looking at state capture. And here is a man who has a problem with the women and also speaking about why not shoot those people, and people will die. It's okay, we'll take the bodies, shift it into the hospitals, and things will be under control. Dissent is never there.
At least I think that is the very characteristic of being an extremist, because the moment you operate in a democratic setup, you simply cannot propound the extremity of any ideology, be it right wing, left wing, secularism, or Hindutva, or Islamist ideology, or whatever it is. In order to propound the extremity, you have to capture the state institutions. You have to make sure that the democratic institutions fail, institutions like the Supreme Court and judiciary and checks and balances, opposition, media, all of them, either they disappear or they fall in line. And I think that is why, whether it is the left-wing extremists or the right-wing extremists, they do advocate for some form of authoritarianism, fascism, dictatorship, or something of that sort. So far as Mohandas Pai's statement is concerned, honestly, I'm not
It's
very
not
shocked with
Mohandas
it.
Pai, it is TG Mohandas.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, please.
TG Mohandas.
Yeah.
TG Mohandas, sorry. So far as statement is concerned, I'm not really surprised with it, because if you look at the traditional ideologues of the RSS, an anti-women thought, a thought that women should better be restricted to kitchens and households and to roles of secondary class citizens, that men should always lead. These are things that have been, predominant in the RSS and the right-wing discourse since ever the RSS came into being over 100 years ago. So if one of their extremist ideologues says something like that, I'm honestly not very surprised. Let's not forget that even the people who are not the extremists, who are in the government, for example, the Gujarat government, they were the one who released the gang rapists of Bilkis Bano. Now, some people might say that's an odd incident, but no, it is not an odd incident. It is something that the government of the BJP did. It is not by an order of the court. It was not some extreme ideologue writing an article on, in Organizer or posting a tweet on Twitter. It was a government action to release people who were gang rapists, who were murderers. And then from the same ecosystem, people went about and garlanded. The difference is that TG Mohandas probably has the courage to say what he thinks out loud. A lot of the people in the RSS or this wider ecosystem don't have that courage to say it. I'm not saying that everybody in the ecosystem is that, is this anti-women, this misogynistic, but a lot of people are, and I'm honestly not very surprised with this thing. As appalling as it is.
Rahul Ishwar, you wanted to counter something, yes.
No, Nikhilji, only humble submission. I know you are a very well-reasoned person. Let us not use the word courage for such statements. No, it is outrage what he said. So the word courage is a good word, and such word should not be misused for Mohandas ji.
All right.
I think I can agree with you on that. So let's call it, he's the only one with the audacity to come out and say that.
Yeah, okay, he had the audacity to say, but we are now joined in by Smita Mishra, who's a senior journalist. Smita Mishra, TJ Mohandas, a very extremist form of talking, especially against women who had come to participate, young women, in fact, who had come to participate in the CJP protests. A thinking process which should, in fact, raise concern, isn't it?
Yes, and I don't know who endorsed it or who supported. I mean, I'm not singly from the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh or anybody, who who go by ideology to say that the Mohandas and whatever said was right, or even to say that even to a kind of safe message, a lot of political parties try to. And as the actor against him, I think, yes, he should prosecute. He should be made accountable for what he has said. I think the process is already on.
Right.
So let's wait and see where it reaches.
I think
But
your voice is breaking, Smita. Your voice is in
Okay.
fact breaking. It's not clear. I think we'll ask our sound engineer to just get back to you with that thing. It's breaking and probably it's not coming out properly. Rahul Ishwar, you know, the social media revolution that's in fact happened has been a boon for a lot of people to just express their ideas. This kind of an idea expression is now quite worrying because, of course, for all the good that is there, the same tool that is used for good can also be used for evil. But in this particular case, it's become too extreme. Like anyone, if you go through social media, anyone can start a YouTube channel. Anyone can put things out the way they think. It could be harmful. It could be to the point where, creating enmity between communities. Things are out there, out in the open. Do you worry something like this coming up?
There is a genuine worry. See, I'm a right-winger, I'm a patriot, I'm a nationalist, but our nationalism should be Gandhiji's nationalism, not Hitler's nationalism. Our patriotism should be something like Netaji's or Nehruji's or Sardar Patel's patriotism, not something like Mussolini's. There is a huge difference. See, that's the exact difference between what transpired in Germany or Italy or what transpired in India. We had great humanitarian people who believed genuinely in Loka Samasta Suhino Bhavantu beyond simply telling it, who really, really had that mentality for the entire world to be at peace. See, that kind of a positive patriotism. Please remember, I keep on telling our right-wing friends, our patriotism should not be patriotism. Our nationalism should not be jingoism.
How is it, Rahul Ishwar, since you brought that factor in, the recent talks or narratives when it comes to the question of patriotism or the question of, as you said, patriotism, as you in fact put it out, it is about being linked with another identity. Not you have to create a villain to be patriotic. Is that the situation?
Absolutely, yes. That's the tragedy right now. See, the tragedy is, we need some kind of an... Am I audible?
Yes, you're
The tragedy is we need some kind of an enemy always on the other side to consolidate. That is absolutely not right. We can have an inclusive nationalism. I keep on telling Mahatma Gandhi clearly defined our national flag as saffron plus white plus green on April 13, 1921, where he meant Hindu, Christian plus other minorities and Muslims. This is the inclusive thing. Now, my friend Nikhilji may call it secularism. I will call it pluralism. He will tell this is modern humanism. I will tell it is Arsha Bharat Sanskriti. We may differ on the language, but the essence and content is the same. Rose by any other name will smell sweet. So we should not go to the far right, because far right is never right. Far left is never right. See, far right and far left are actually curses of India, where people go to either one extent they become an urban Naxal, or the other extent you become an urban Nazi, and this is not done. See, please remember, such a ultra Hindutva hardliner, God say, in effect, kill Gandhiji. Let us be honest about it, RSS took a very responsible stand. Even with Gen Z interaction, Pujaniya Sarsangchalak Mohan Bhagawatji took a very responsible stand. We should applaud good voices from the right of the center spectrum. Modi ji is trying to take in a center-right position. We should respect such things because there is a strong ultra-right in India. We need center-right to come up and resist the ultra-right. Similarly, center-left to come up and resist the Maoist and Naxal-Wadi forces. We need that balance, and we need such political sensitive education. Otherwise, it will always be a fight between extreme with no center-left for the common people of India.
Well, Nikhil Jain, the question is, what has women got to do with all this? Why is it that they are the soft targets in that? They have the right, like any other citizen, to come to protest. They have a right to air their views. But why do extreme ideologies, in the case of TG Mohandas also, attack women? Why is it that women are the soft targets in all this?
I think we definitely have to look at the historical context that around the world, including in India, most societies, women were never treated as equals. Women were second fiddles, women were second-class citizens, and a lot of the people who propound right-wing ideologies, especially those on the far right, again, in India and abroad, they want to go back to that, traditional way of things, where women are confined to kitchens, where women can't be in leadership roles, and where women have to, move around in a certain code of conduct, where women can't raise their voice, where they can't laugh freely, where they can't dress freely, where they can't eat freely, where they can't talk freely. And I think that is characteristic of far right wingers everywhere, be it Europe, be it America, be it India, all the more so in India, I feel though. That being said, I think there's an important point that needs to be said here about the shifting of the Overton window in India in the past 15 years. Today, my good friend Rahul Ishwar is talking about how Modi ji is center right. Let's not forget that 15 years ago, Modi ji was the poster boy of Hindu Hriday Samrat and complete right-wingism. Some people would have called him right-wing extremist as well. But today we are calling a Narendra Modi center right, which is why we have allowed space in our society for somebody like a TG Mohandas to make the kind of statement that he did. Even people on the far right back 15 years ago, or from the RSS, or from any other, Sangh Parivar or that right-wing ecosystem, they would not have said something like this publicly. It is only because of the shifting of the Overton window that we believe that a right-wing Narendra Modi is today a center-right person, that you have somewhat of an acceptance or allowance in public space for a TG Mohandas to say that. And I'm sure this is Kerala, so this guy is getting arrested. Had somebody from Uttar Pradesh said it, probably somebody would have garlanded him. And that's not a very healthy trend for this country. And I think, despite the fact that Rahul and I very often stand on the opposite sides of the ideological spectrum, I think both of us would agree on this, as I'm agreeing with a lot of the other things my good friend has said.
See, yeah, one larger point is very true. There is a shifting of Overton window, and we need to get that back. We need to get that back to the Sardar Patel versus, I'm using it responsibly, versus Pandit Nehru spectrum. Whereas the Pandit Nehru is the responsible, center-left, progressive, liberal, secular. Sardar Patel being the cultural heritage kind of person, Sardar Patel, K.M. Munshi, Gandhiji playing the center. See, this was India's history. Look at any issue, for example, regarding our temple renovation movements, regarding the Gujarat Somnath temple. Nehruji was not for it, Sardar Patel and K.M. Munshi was for it. So they went to Mahatma Gandhi, who was the father figure. Mahatma Gandhi said, let us do it, but not with state funds. See, this is the balance that we create. For any other issue, this really happens. So we want that Overton window. That's beautifully articulated by, Nikhil, that many of the ordinary people won't know what the Overton window is. Overton window is a very important concept in sociopolitics, where we understand various policy positions. The Overton window should not shift to too radical right. That's happening in some European nations. That's the reason why we are getting scared. That's happening in America, partly also because of Donald Trump. You should not shift it to one extreme right or left for that matter. We need somewhere in the balance. And in India, that centrist balance is more of Mahatma Gandhi, with center right being defined as Sardar Patel, C. Rajagopal Achari, the first genuine right-wing party of India, Swadhantriya Party. All these on the center right side, and the left-wing forces with Nehruji being the center left, communist, AAP. See, or even Congress in the economic sale positions itself as a center left. So we need such enlightened political discussion where I can always happily disagree with Mr. Nikhil. I can attack him over his position. I can say you are wrong. But at the end of the day, we can disagree but not disrespect. But Mohandas ji crossed that Lakshmana Rekha. I'm sorry to say, Mohandas ji is a friend of mine. We have worked together for years altogether. But Mohandas ji unfortunately crossed that Lakshmana Rekha line. That was very painful for me to hear.
No, that is where I was. Just before this discussion, we were speaking with the Gen Z, and the Gen Z has completely different kind of understanding of all this. They are not in right, they are not in left. For them, the issue is very different. For them, the issue is, can you deliver? Are you up to deliver your promises? Are you understanding what my future requires? And if you don't have the ability to do that, I will pull you down as soon as possible. Then I get my right to
the unfortunate thing is, with statements like TG Mohandas, Gen Z will turn
of course,
us off.
that is the thing. That is the thing. No, the Gen Z will not take it. And this was targeted against the women of Gen Z when they came for the protest. That is what it was done. And therefore, they're not going to take this in the right way as what is supposed to be done when it comes to, the right-wing ideology. TG Mohandas becomes the symbol of the right-wing ideology that is saying that we are not interested in you coming to protest. We want you to stay at home, not to raise your voice. That is not going to happen. They have all changed. In fact, we are probably the last ones who are going to speak about ideology, or we are the last ones who are going to, in fact, speak about how much of right-wingism is there when it comes to our nationalist leaders. They have a totally different understanding of politics. Their politics is whether you can deliver or not. And it starts with that and it ends with that. Nikhil Jain, is that the case with the Gen Z?
I honestly don't like to think that is how it is the case or how it will pan out to be. See, I'll tell you my own example. When I was in college, I did not have a label for myself. I did not consider myself right-wing. I did not consider myself left-wing. And honestly, even today, I don't like to call myself left-wing or right-wing or center or this or center. Of course, yes, but I don't like to call myself left-wing or right. Be that as it may, I think these are young students. These are young people. They're students. They're still learning a lot of things. Like it's they're in the formative part of their careers. Many of them will turn out to be right wingers. Many of them will turn out to be left wingers. Right now, they are keeping a very pragmatic, practical approach. But over time, I think you learn, especially in college and right after college, that eventually you pick a side. I never wanted to be left wing or this or that, but eventually I've come to realize that I have picked a side as much as I despised that very idea throughout my college life. Of course, that is not to say that I agree with every idea of the left wing or
Right.
I despise every idea of the right wing. But if you are to look at the sum total of what my personal individual socio-political ideology is, again, hate to say it, but left wing.
All right.
Probably the answer for Rahul's answer would be right wing, and I'm sure there are points on where.
But
Rahul and I
in
would
fact, I
agree.
disagree with this
I think-
aspect of it because I think right now, after speaking with a lot of Gen Zs, that they have a very different political, and probably we need to, in fact, coin that the way that they think. I think it's more about delivery politics. It's about future thinking, and I think we are all completely old-fashioned when it comes to this talk about how they think politics is with that. Well, thank you, Nikhil Jain, and thank you, Rahul Ishwar, for in fact joining us and giving us an aspect about how this entire thing works.